to share on what was just been read out?
Yeah, my name's Alan, addict. Yeah, thanks, my man, and thanks everyone for being here, and thanks, Luke. That's basically my share done. I mean, that's pretty much. If you transpose that over my experience of addiction, it's really identical. And yeah, there's been a few weeks building up to this, and there's been so much I've wanted to say, and now I'm sitting here and I've kind of got cotton brain, but see what happens, see how it comes out. Just thinking back, as a kind of kid and as a teenager, and even before getting to CA, having no idea what addiction is or was. I just thought it was someone who took too many drugs, and it was such a kind of, school we had all the drugs talks. It was such a kind of abstract concept. It just didn't mean anything. It just didn't. There's no way of knowing it or understanding it, and it took a long time to really fully understand, not necessarily addiction, but what I'm up against. Now today I understand it as it's just going to keep on happening. That's my experience, is that it just keeps on happening. There's nothing I can do about that to prevent it from happening. So yeah, I mean, getting into drugs as a teenager, and because I felt like an explorer. It was we kind of got this list of drugs at school and the dangers, and I just thought it was a kind of shopping list. It was just it was kind of, you go away on your summer holidays and come back and I tried ecstasy. Fuck, wicked, man, what was that like? And it was just like this kind of camaraderie and kind of one-upmanship of I remember one mate coming back at, I think he was 16, or I think he was 14 or 6. He was young. He was I did heroin. I was fucking hell. Okay. I was just getting into pot and mushrooms and things. It's okay, I can't beat that. And just loving it, absolutely loving it. And then, the drugs getting heavier and getting expelled from school and for drugs, and but still just carrying on partying hard and crack and heroin coming on the scene, and there was just a big group of us doing it, and it was so much fun, and just loving heroin, absolutely loving it, and really, really enjoying playing with it and exploring it and discovering what it did and how to do it, how to get the most out of it, and bit by bit all my mates kind of, they kind of stopped and kind of got on with the rest of their lives, and I didn't, because I was really kind of into it, and doing my first rattle and kind of thinking, I think, thank God for that. That's done and dusted. I'll remember that. That was horrible. That's never gonna happen again. So it's cool. Move on. I was at art college at the time, so it was get really stuck into art college and do that, and then very shortly afterwards, doing it again, and I was doing it every day again, and I'd got a habit again. I was fuck. And that was just a repeated cycle, and started engaging with drug services and counselling and all sorts of different kind of therapies and different things to try and going on scripts and trying to really control it, and as the years went on, it just got just getting more and more confused. And the first rehab, coming out, doing it again, engaging with 12-step fellowships, still carrying on, just getting more and more isolated and alone. Just life had become so small. It just becomes so fucking minuscule. Like it would just, there was nothing to it other than crack and heroin, and eventually, getting to CA and getting, moved back home, moved back to mum and dad's again in an attempt to try and get well again, and ended up at CA in Cheltenham, and getting fired up by this stuff, like suddenly finally meeting people like us, who are talking about addiction and they're talking about, relapse, they're talking about, this that once I managed to put it down, I start doing it again. It's like, yeah, I fucking get that. That keeps on happening to me. Talk to me about that, and really kind of throwing myself into the CA way of life and being in it, being really involved in CA and kind of committed to it and dedicated to it and having a life, getting free from drugs and alcohol, and yeah, I'd moved back to London from Bristol, and life was, life was all right. There was stuff going on, but I was about 3 and a bit, nearly 4 years clean, I guess. I think 3.5 years clean, and life was. It was life. It was normal life. Like, that was filled with. There was opportunity. There was possibility. There was work. There was. It's just like a normal life, I guess. And I just remember coming home one day from work and going, I'm gonna have a gin and tonic, and no one needs to know about it. Like, I've got a meeting tomorrow, and I know about addiction. Like, I know about the strange mental twist. I fucking know that. Like, I've studied the book. I've talked to loads of people in CI. I know about, and then once I start, I know that I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I know that I can't control it or moderate it. So what I'll do is I'll just really make sure I control it and moderate it. I'll just have one. And having one and then being like, well, I need more, so what I'm going to do is I'll go and buy miniature bottles. I bought 4 miniature bottles, came back, did them, did another 4, and then was like, that's it, I'm off. I need to get some crack and heroin. And I just completely forgotten that life went from that to like that in a fucking nanosecond as soon as I had the first one. And yeah, that was it was brutal. Like it was another, I think, best part of a year, and back into rehab, and yeah, going into rehab and being so just terrified and just kind of very, very confused. I'm pretty broken, and being quite, I was like the eager person in rehab, like in the group therapy, like outing people, going, yeah, mate, I think you're going to use. You wanna watch that. I think you need to, telling, because I knew about recovery. I knew, and I was probably a complete dickhead, like, and I was adamant. I was in there. I was like, nope, I'm never going to fucking do it again. I know as soon as I get out of here, I know exactly what I need to do to get re-engaged with recovery and get back on it. The night I got out, I crushed up a Subutex and snorted it, and kind of it was all right for. I moved back to London. I didn't tell anyone about it, and I was like, fuck, okay, we'll forget about that. We'll just move on. And it must have been a few. I don't know how long, weeks or months or something. And I remember I'd gone to a party with a mate, and I was just feeling quite lonely. I was feeling quite kind of, I don't know, I felt, work was busy, and I was living on my own basically on my own in this tiny little room in Islington. It was fucking cold, it was just a miserable little room. And I'd gone to this party with a mate, and I was walking back, and I was like, I'm just going back to my little box room, my extortionately priced box room in Islington. Do you know what, I'm going to get a couple of each, and just get a DVD, and just get a nice meal, and just relax, just really, really kick back, really enjoy it, just have a little night off, just a little break from this fucking mind-numbing routine. And I did that, and I remember going to score, and I remember just being so excited, like I was literally just kind of, I was shaking, and I shat myself. I was so excited, like I was just like, every bodily functions just went just out of control. And I remember looking in the mirror. I got back, and I spat them out of my mouth, and I was looking in the mirror going, shit, should I have a hit before? Should I have a hit before I clean myself? No, well, I'll have a hit before I have a shower, and then I'll have a shower, and then I'll have a hit once I get out of the shower. Cool, done. I think I had to phone my sponsor as well at some point in between all that, and kind of pretend that everything was all right. So I did all that, and I came around the next day having had a pretty sizable stroke with a paralysed leg. There's no movement from the knee down. Nothing, gone. All feeling, all movement, just gone. And phoning up an ambulance to come and get me, and it was like this weird comic. There were these two Aussies, these ambulance guys, and they're like pulling the hair on my leg and like punching it, going, "Well, mate, you didn't want to fucking, what did you do, mate? You injected heroin. You didn't want to do that. Why the fuck did you do that, mate? Like, I don't fucking know. Can you just get me to the hospital?" So I remember I was kind of going in and out of consciousness, and I was in the foyer, and I was just on the stretcher, and I think I was just on the stretcher in the foyer for about 6 to 8 hours without being seen. No water, nothing, no food. In quite a bad, state, and this woman just coming, she gave me some water and a sandwich, and eventually getting into a bed, and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. At some point, I came round, and my parents had managed to find me, and they'd kind of got rid of all contact with me. Mum was going through this mega cancer operation, like a 50-50 chance of her living or dying. Somehow they had found me, and I just remember coming around with her, like beating on my chest, just in tears, going, "We can't handle this anymore. Enough is enough." And getting out of hospital, eventually, trying to get around London on crutches, and the pain, agonising pain, just building and building, but I couldn't do. I was useless. Eventually, Mum and Dad letting me go and move back with them, and good 18 months of intense physiotherapy, horrible painkillers, like the withdrawal, coming off those painkillers, and re-engaging with life, rebuilding my life, re-engaging with CA, and I remember, the doctors in that hospital saying, "Well, you've learnt your lesson this time, haven't you? You're never going to make that mistake again." And sure as shit, like the jaywalker, it fucking happened again. It happened again, and that's, I love the story of the jaywalker, because it is, as an addict, that's what it must look like for a normal person to look at me, look at my behaviours and actions around the question of drugs and alcohol. That's what it must look like. To me, it's the most insane, ridiculous analogy, and yet it's exactly what my mum must see when she's looking at me, like, what, you fucking what? You've done it, like, how could you do that? How is it even possible for you to do that? And I'm just going, I don't know. I have no idea how it's possible. You're right. It should never be possible, ever, for me to forget what happens to me when I take crack cocaine and heroin and alcohol. It is so dangerous, and yet it seems it just keeps on happening. And so, you know, within that space of time, you know, I reckon I've had like 5 strokes now. You know, my last one on the 28th of November last year. And it, you know, it's taken me 10 years of being in CA to, you know, 10 years ago, I would have said, you know, around step 1, yeah, I get it. I get that there's nothing I can do about this. I'm powerless. You know, I know I don't have any control around it. But it's taken me 10 years to really, really take on board on a really deep level that there is nothing I can do about this. Like, no matter what, it's just going to keep on happening, and that's a wonderful place to be in. You know, today at the moment, I'm not aware of anything I'm trying to do to try and beat addiction. You know, I'm not trying to. I don't believe that. You know, as long as I've got X number of work projects on, I'm going to be all right. So as long as I feel okay, I'm going to be all right. I don't feel like using. I'm not thinking about using. I'm okay. You know, from that place, just that place of it's just going to keep happening again. It just stop trying to beat this. Just stop trying to. You know, we talk about like quit playing God. You know, and that I think is ultimately kind of, it's really profound. You know, that's something which I'm trying to be aware of and apply to every aspect of my life. You know, that, you know, step 3. Just stop trying to run the show. Just stop trying to dictate and govern Hal's little universe and what's going on around it. It's taken me 10 years to get that. It really has. You know, looking at the benefit of hindsight, it's just like, what? You were doing what? And you thought that was okay, and but yeah, and you know, it's you know, so now today that's my understanding of addiction. You know, that relapse seems to be very specific to addiction and to me, and thank God we're like, you know, we're all here. You know, that's it's so cool to actually be part of a fellowship of fellow addicts and people who are all kind of walking this walk together and learning about this stuff together, because it's lonely. It's so lonely out there on your own, and actually finally meeting people where you're getting excited about talking together and doing this stuff together. And I find Birmingham so inspiring. I've just got involved with PI in the Cotswold district, and looking at you guys, and you guys have been so helpful and passing on your experience and knowledge of how to do that. It's exciting. You know, again, I feel like an explorer. It's like exploring how to kind of get that message, how to help other addicts out of this, how to, you know, because people don't know about CA, and we're here, and we know about it, we've done it, we know what addiction is, we're armed with what we could see addiction as, and we can help people. And what a cool place and position to be in. You know, and I'm really excited about continue talking to you guys and learning from you guys about how to do that, and getting into police, hospitals, nurses, GPs, care centres, job centres, all of that. It's just waiting. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll now open the meeting to the rest of the room.